Well, I think, broadly speaking, the issue of poverty relates to life cycle, what do you call it, risks, and in the absence of collective response. Um, but over the last, 20, 30 years, the very nature of the global, economic architecture itself has, exacerbated, both problem of inequality and problem of poverty. So that even the mechanisms that used to be, what do you call it, traditionally available to many of the states, have been, particularly taken off, from under their feet, and I think we have to address those issues of the, the nature of the economic policy, economic global, architecture, in mitigating and responding to the kind of, risks, that precipitate, what do you call it, poverty in the first instance. Well, they're at two or three levels. One is the level of mass poverty that we see, for instance, in sub-Saharan Africa, does require that we have to go back to the, fundamental issues of economic development, but one that is structured in a way that it becomes, inclusive. Within that framework, also, the, what do you call it, building of human capacity becomes important, and investing in this. And then thirdly, in terms of responding to the specific, what do you call it, crisis of poverty and extreme, what do you call it, poverty. But in situations where there is a high level of what do you call it, poverty, we have to address it both from the side of, what do you call it, social provisioning, as well as, rebuilding the productive capacity of society. Well, I think, the very definition of extreme poverty itself makes it very problematic, because they're set so low that actually it doesn't really take people out of poverty. So it does require that, and then I think, even within the SDG, we'll have to see what happens, in the final, what do you call it, declaration. But the issue of, say, for instance, eradicating extreme poverty, over the next, what do you call it, by 2030, itself, still within the MDG one, and by the way, you remember this is what it was said at, dollar, 25, which is very problematic in terms of the level of living condition that we think is suitable for human beings. So it does require that we have to raise what do you call it, a perspective, above just the question of basic existence to adequate living,